Doc, level with me. Am I dying or dramatic? Cameron Blake tried to make it a joke, but the laugh never came. He sat perched on the paper-crinkled edge of the exam table, a 6'3" equation in a charcoal suit and immaculate white sneakers, eyes steady on the closed door. Outside, Atlanta moaned with lunchtime, horns and mufflers and the low hum of air conditioners. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed a tone too bright for bad news. Dr. Alvarez's knock was gentle, the way a person taps a memory they're afraid to break. He slid in with a tablet, his face a practiced calm. The kind that says he's delivered this line in rooms far less beautiful to men, far less ready. "Mr. Blake," he began. Then he didn't finish. He set the tablet on the counter, folded his hands, and dragged a stool close enough that Cameron could smell coffee and peppermint. "I'm going to be direct." "Please do," Cameron said, fingers tapping his knee with a perfumer's precision. He wore his calm like a bespoke coat. It fit, but it cost. "The scan shows a glioma," Dr. Alvarez said. "Malignant. The placement and the grade suggest we're dealing with something aggressive." He paused, and in that breath, a decade of boardrooms with glass walls and hard floors flashed like a flipbook through Cameron's mind. If treatment doesn't respond, we're talking a year. Maybe a little more if everything breaks our way. The word year fell like a gavel. It sounded louder than the humming lights, louder than the air vent, louder than the heel of some nurse clicking past in cheerful scrubs. A year was a fiscal cycle, a corporate plan, a product roadmap. A year was not a life. Cameron stared at a thumbprint smeared on the glossy cabinet door across from him. Funny what the mind chooses when the ground opens. A smudge, a smirk, the shape of a window where the city cut itself into puzzle pieces. He ached suddenly for the weight of old things. His father's gold signet ring he never wore, the cardboard box of vinyl he kept meaning to alphabetize, the chipped red mug from his first office that made burnt coffee taste like hustle. "What are my options?" he asked, voice level. He'd learned long ago that power often sounds like softness. "Surgery is an option, but the location makes it risky," Dr. Alvarez said. "Targeted. Therapies. Radiation. We'll build a plan. But I don't want to mislead you. It's a fight. How much time do I have if the fight isn't interested in fair?" Cameron asked. "If we assume worst case?" Dr. Alvarez exhaled. 12 months. 18. If the odds show grace." Cameron blinked slow. Once. The room was suddenly too neat. He had always liked neatness, the arrogant order of a desk that dared chaos to step incorrect. But now the neatness made him want to turn the table over and shout until the fluorescent hum stopped pretending to be a sound and confessed it was silence in disguise. He nodded, because men like him nod. Understood. They discussed follow-ups, referrals, a nurse who would call to coordinate first steps, a binder with tabs the color of Easter eggs that Dr. Alvarez slid across the counter like a peace treaty. Cameron shook the doctor's hand and left without the binder. Realized it in the elevator, and didn't go back. He didn't want to carry an object that called him patient when the whole city knew him as architect. The Maybach idled in the private bay. Devin Cole, friend since freshman year and chief of staff, since the moment a dorm room app became a corporation, stood from the driver's seat as if he could take this like luggage. "All good?" Devin asked, searching Cameron's face. Cameron got in, closed the door softly, and looked out the tinted window as if the skyline had rewritten itself while he was upstairs. For a full block, he said nothing. 2. 3. Somewhere near the corner of Spring and 14th, he spoke without turning his head. "I need a child." Devin's hands tightened at 10 and 2. He didn't break, but he thought about it. "Cam, not legacy on a plaque or seed rounds named after me," Cameron said, voice even. "Blood. Name. An heir who won't have to hustle fear before breakfast." Devin drove in measured silence. The AC whispered. A bus ad hawked a car accident attorney with a too-white smile. A man in a neon vest pushed a dolly stacked with cases of water. A year. The city yawned. "You want to talk to—" Devin began. "No," Cameron said. "I want you to draft a notice. The good one. The one that sounds like me, but better. Send it to comms in 10 minutes. Push it to our channels at 5. Off-cycle drops trend harder. What am I pushing? Cameron leaned his head back and closed his eyes. He had spent 10 years teaching his instincts to walk on marble. They sprinted now. Blake Ventures is seeking a spouse, he said. Immediate. Devon barked a laugh he didn't mean. He glanced over, saw Cameron's face, a new stillness under the old calm, and let the laugh die. You want to do this publicly? I don't want to die privately, Cameron said. He opened his eyes. Find me someone I can stand. Someone who won't turn this into reality TV. Someone who can raise a child to be more than a trust fund. Devon nodded. The way you nod at a cliff you cannot move. Yes, sir. By lunchtime, phones buzzed. By 2, the blog girl with the acrylics and the mercury tongue had the headline, Blake Ventures, CEO seeks wife, no comment on health rumors. By 4, the group chat in every salon from Cascade to College Park had an opinion about whether a man with dimples and 10 hotels needed a wife or a prescription for humility. At 5, the wrought iron gates of Westview Heights, a modernist ode to glass and brick and southern light, held back a river of women. Pearls, Prada, press-on lashes that could fan a flame. Phones angled above heads, laughter layered with calculation. The scent of 300 perfumes built a new flower in the humid air. In that line was Nia Carter, 26. Curls fighting the heat and winning. Sneakers clean, nails short, hoop earrings catching bits of sun. She'd taken the MARTA to Arts Center, walked the last 15 minutes with a duffel, and told herself 3 lies and 1 truth. I'm just curious. I'm not staying long. I'm not like them. I am not afraid. She hadn't come for Cameron Blake. She'd come for a different line, a different gate. A rumor said some streaming service was casting House Share ATL on Peachtree. An experiment in chaos with a devilishly good soundtrack. She followed the crowd because Atlanta teaches you early. Where there's a line, there's either food or money. Is this the House Share line? She asked the woman ahead of her, who wore a silk blouse so immaculate it reflected clouds. This is the Marry the Billionaire line, the woman said. Pick your delusion. Nia laughed under her breath and stayed. A breeze teased the Spanish moss. Security unfurled ropes and an awning. Cameramen loitered across the street in case a miracle or a meltdown showed up on time. At 6:10, Cameron stepped onto the portico in a green polo and white shorts. A look he could only pull off because money's a fabric you can't buy. He wasn't smiling exactly. He also wasn't not. His eyes scanned the line without lingering. Somewhere. A woman fainted and then pretended she meant to. Who's still out here? He asked a guard named Wells, whose grandmother went to church with Cameron's grandmother, which is why his posture softened when he answered. Last one's loud, Wells said. A thinner line now. The sun hung like a copper coin over the trees. At the end of the rope, Nia stood and did something she hadn't done since high school chorus. She sang a line under her breath to calm her hands. You're a star, so show the world who you are. It wasn't entirely on key, but the audacity tuned it. Cameron's mouth twitched. He stepped closer. You looking for TV? I'm looking for a shot, she said. Her Savannah lilt slipped out in the word shot, turned it into soft honey. I'm offering a role, he said. Wife. Nia blinked, then laughed. You propose to all your strangers like that? Only the ones who think they're auditioning, he said, tipping his chin toward the guard. Open the gate. Wells hesitated for half a breath and pressed the button. The iron slid. The rope lifted. The crowd murmured and filmed. Nia's heart beat like a drumline. She could have walked away. Pride is a GPS that sometimes points to nowhere and calls it home. She stepped forward. Inside, Westview Heights was clean geometry. White stone, oak, glass that pretended not to be there. In the foyer, a chandelier spilled light like champagne. On a sleek black coffee table, a bowl of lemons glowed as if Sun had a contract. "Hungry?" Cameron asked. And when Nia started to say no, her stomach said yes for her. He handed her a plate of lemon pepper wings. Hot, wet, pleading for napkins. She ate one, then two. Then caught herself and set the plate back like it had bitten her. "So," she said, wiping her fingers with a linen napkin that cost more than a day's pay at her last job. "What's the actual play here? You want a wife before Christmas?" "Before next quarter," he said. He slid a manila folder across the table, paper whispering over glass. 1-year marriage. 1 million a month stipend paid to an independent account. If you conceive in the first month, an additional 10 million transferred at contract end. If I die, whoa, she said, the word unprofessional and necessary. 1 residence deeded to you, plus 10 million. The remainder of my personal estate goes to our child. Trusteeship locked. Prenup attached. Nia pulled the folder closer, expecting numbers to blur. They didn't. Lines were crisp. Signatures had places to land. She swallowed and glanced up at the man who spoke about money the way most men spoke about weather. "Why me?" she asked. "Your gate is full of people who look like they belong in this house." "You're the first one who didn't rehearse," he said. "And you ate the wing, like you were hungry." "That's because I was hungry," she said, then clamped her mouth shut. Honesty was a habit she kept meaning to break. He didn't smile, but his eyes warmed. "Good," he said simply. Her phone buzzed. "Monique." "Girl, where you at? Did you see the notice?" Another buzz. "Aunt Tasha." "Where you at, baby? Drink water. Keep your heart." Nia flipped the phone face down. "I keep my name," she said suddenly. "If I sign anything in this house, I keep my name. Carter is who I am." "Keep it," he said. "Just carry mine when necessary. What if I can't?" She stopped. The ask stuck like a bone. What if I can't get pregnant? What if my body says no? What if God says not yet? "Then we tell the truth," he said. She studied him, the clean edges and the tired under his eyes, the way his fingers pinched the bridge of his nose when silence stretched. Somewhere behind him hung a black and white photograph of his parents. His father in a HBCU-issued suit. His mother in a dress that worshipped her waist. Both of them young and defiant, and so proud of a son not yet born that it leaked through the frame. "Okay," Nia said, surprising herself with the sound of her own courage. "Okay." He handed her a Mont Blanc. She took it like a dare. The pen felt like a wand. He pointed to the lines where ink should fall. She signed Nia Lark Carter with a flourish Aunt Tasha taught her when she was 9 and decided her name deserved ceremony. The last stroke lifted, and something in the room shifted like weather. "Welcome to the role," he said softly. "Don't direct me," she said, the hint of a smile finally choosing her mouth. B, the housekeeper, appeared with 2 glasses of water like she'd been waiting on the other side of the wall for this moment all afternoon. She handed one to Nia, eyes kind, something like prayer tucked into the crinkles. "You home," B said, and Nia, who had rented rooms where the walls peeled like sunburn, held the glass with 2 hands like a gift. Later, after Devon strolled in with eyebrows high and a notary on FaceTime, after a courier took copies to a safe that probably had a name, after the sun slid down behind the oaks and the line at the gate dissolved into stories for group chats and hairdryers, Cameron walked Nia out onto the back terrace. The lawn dipped down into trees. Somewhere, cicadas Tess ran their nighttime choir. The pool held the sky like a rumor. He handed her a lightweight sweater when a breeze found the back of her neck because rich men and southern aunties share one superstition. Draft will steal your voice. "Tomorrow," he said, "we'll call your people." "My people?" she asked, startled. "Family. Whoever needs part of this explained by me. She thought of Aunt Tasha's laugh, her mother's silence like a storm that never learned to rain, a cousin in Macon with a tendency to ask for loans the way some folks ask for prayers. She nodded. Okay. If you want a wedding, he added, we do a wedding. If you want a courthouse, we drive to the courthouse and get a biscuit on the way back. Nia looked out at the pool, catching the first stars. She had not let herself want a wedding since she was 12 and learned how men leave. In shoes. They promised to shine. Now a part of her, small and ridiculous, pictured a white dress like whipped cream and the sea singing under it. She felt her face betray her. We'll figure it out, she said. He watched her profile, the way her smile started on the left and migrated like a slow sunrise. We will, he said. When he left her at a guest room bigger than any apartment she'd ever toured, she sat on the edge of a bed that had never known a bad night and stared at a painting of a cotton field, rendered like an elegy. She thought of the ancestors who picked under hotter suns so she could stand on marble and ask for her name. She whispered thank you to whoever was listening. Down the hall, Cameron poured 2 fingers of bourbon and held the heavy glass against his temple, where the headache gathered like weather. He turned off his phone, then turned it on again. He drafted a message to Dr. Alvarez he didn't send. What if you're wrong? What if the miracle is not the medicine but the time? He deleted it and texted Devin instead. Pastor Johnson. Tomorrow. Small. No press. Devin replied with a thumbs up and a prayer hands emoji, which Cameron pretended to hate and secretly accepted. At 1:17 a.m., Nia texted Aunt Tasha, I did something wild. At 1:18 a.m., Aunt Tasha called. Nia answered on the first ring and cried soundlessly while Aunt Tasha said, God don't make mistakes, but he does make detours. You hear me? Yes, ma'am, Nia whispered. You keep your heart, Aunt Tasha said. You keep your name. Let that man keep his word. Nia slept in a house that had never held her, and the house made room. Somewhere in the dark, a boy she'd never met shifted under the gravity of a decision 2 strangers had made for him. To be born into a story that refused to apologize for love. In the morning, Atlanta would wake up hungry for tea. The gate would remember how to hold a crowd. The group chats would slide into Deg and Deg. But for now, inside the quiet, 2 people practiced breathing in the same myth. That a year could be enough. To build forever. If you wrote it with both hands. Do you even like me? Nia asked, arms folded, curls barely tamed by a silk scarf. Cameron glanced up from the marble island where he was signing a stack of documents Devin had smoothed into submission. The question hung between them like a chandelier that might fall or glitter. I don't dislike you, he said. I respect you. That's not a yes. It's an honest start. Bee clucked her tongue from the stove where shrimp and grits whispered in butter. Honest starts are how good marriages begin, baby. Honest middles are how they last. Nia slid onto a stool, chin high, eyes steady. Then let's be honest now. If we're doing a wedding, it can't be just optics. I want a pastor who knows my name, not a headline who knows my angles. Pastor Johnson, Cameron said, tapping a text already drafted to Devin. Ebenezer West. He marched with my grandfather on Auburn Ave. He'll ask you what your favorite psalm is and wait while you Google it. I know the Psalms, she said, offended on behalf of her Sunday school attendance. I just don't want to feel like a prop. You're not a prop, he said. You're a partner. For a year. Maybe more. Maybe more what? She asked softly. He didn't answer. B slid a plate between them like a ceasefire. Eat. Folks say I do better on a full stomach. They told Aunt Tasha first. Because some women are elders, even when the church never gave them the title. She arrived in a lime green sundress and Air Force Ones, hugged Nia until her ribs squeaked, then turned to Cameron as if he were a contractor, giving her an estimate on her soul. You got a plan for my baby? She asked. Yes, ma'am, he said. Plans fail, she said. Character doesn't. Which one are we marrying? Both, he said, surprising himself. Her eyes softened a notch. You look like you keep your promises because you know how much it cost the first time you broke one. Cameron's throat ticked. He held her gaze. I keep them, he said. Then let's pray, she said, grabbing their hands without asking if either of them was ready to be held that tight. They told Nia's mother next. It went less poetic. Ms. Carter listened on speaker from Savannah, paused for a full 8 seconds, the insulted kind, and said, Men with money like this city because it's got mirrors. Just make sure you can see you in every room. I will, Ma, Nia said, voice small and brave. And get everything in writing, her mother added, and Nia couldn't tell if that was cynicism or love. The city found out without being told. A drone caught a florist's van at the gate. A neighbor's nanny caught a glimpse of a dress bag. A gossip page caught fire. Comments split into 2 denominations, the Church of Love is Love and the Church of She's a Gold Digger. Cameron's comms director, Sloan Whitaker, a genius in a camel coat with a bob sharp enough to slice an NDA, arrived at Westview Heights with a crisis deck and an expression like a weather report from the eye of a hurricane. Congratulations, Sloan said, not smiling. Now that that's out of the way, the board will panic. Investors hate surprises, and this looks like a man shopping for a legacy before the holiday sale ends. I am shopping for a legacy, Cameron said. Full price. Sloan flicked to a slide that said, Narrative. Choice. Veress. Crisis. If this is romance, we sell the meet cute. If this is urgency, we sell responsibility. If this is both, we need a through line. Try this, Nia said, startling all 3 of them. 2 black kids from Georgia don't owe the world an explanation for loving fast, but we do owe our people honesty. Say that. Sloan blinked, recalibrating. Ms. Carter, do you have comms experience? I have choir stand experience, Nia said. You learn breath control and shade management. Sloan's mouth twitched. We'll brief you both on talking points. Devin will coordinate the license. Pastor Johnson said tomorrow afternoon is good. Intimate ceremony, no cameras inside, 1 shot outside. If someone leaks, it'll be because God wanted to trend. Let God rest, Bee muttered, crossing herself with a spoon. They married in a small chapel with stained glass windows that did their best to make Atlanta's sun look like Jerusalem. Nia wore a simple ivory dress she'd hunted down with Bee at a boutique on Ponce, sleeves like prayers, waist cinched by courage. Cameron wore a navy suit that could get a loan on its own. Devin stood up, jaw set, to keep the world at bay. Aunt Tasha cried the kind of soft cry that doesn't smear mascara because the mascara already learned its lesson years ago. Pastor Johnson, silver hair in waves that made you remember history is not black and white, opened his Bible and looked at them over the rim of his glasses. Love is patient, he said. But sometimes love is in a hurry. Patience and hurry are not enemies when God's the one holding the clock. He asked for vows. They hadn't written any. Improvisation is either jazz or disaster. They chose jazz and hoped. I don't believe in fate, Cameron said, voice thick in the old air room. I believe in decisions. I choose you, Nia. I'll choose you every morning I remember how short life is. I'll try to choose you even on the mornings I forget. I believe in fate, Nia said, cheeks wet, laugh hiding in the edges. But I also believe in work. I'll work for us. I'll remind you to eat. I'll remind you to laugh. And I'll remind you that you don't have to carry your pain alone. Because that's not what partnership is. Even when the contract ends. Silence. Collected. Like velvet. Pastor Johnson nodded, satisfied the spirit had gotten his say. By the authority vested in me, by God, and by the state of Georgia, in that order, I pronounce you husband and wife. Cameron, you may kiss your wife. Cameron kissed her like a promise he'd wait his whole life to make. Gentle enough for the church mothers. Real enough for the truth. Outside. The courtyard exploded. Applause from their tiny circle. A few distant whoops from the street. The click-snap of one sanctioned photo that would travel the internet in 3 minutes and live forever. In that photo, Nia's head tilts back mid-laugh. Cameron's hand is at her waist like it grew there. And Aunt Tasha in the background is giving glory with both hands raised like she personally filed the miracle paperwork. At the reception, 6 tables, fried chicken, and kale salad holding hands on the menu. Sloane stood and tapped a glass. "Quick toast," she said, "to the Blakes. May your calendar never bully your heart." It was perfect, which annoyed Nia and calmed Cameron, which is how Sloane knew she'd nailed it. They cut a cake made by a pastry chef who deliberately left one edge rustic because perfection reads like plastic on camera. Nia fed Cameron a bite. He fed her back. She smudged icing on his lip. He looked at her like there was no board, no clock, no world that could tell him no. Devin leaned over to Pastor Johnson as the room buzzed. "You think this is crazy, Reverend?" "Son," Pastor Johnson said, eyes crinkling at something only he could see. "Every good story sounds crazy in Chapter 2. That night, Westview Heights learned their laughter. The house had held parties and deals and a very famous senator once. It had not held 2 people dancing sock-foot to Frankie Beverly in the kitchen while B pretended not to watch from the pantry door. "You were serious about wings on your wedding day," Nia teased. Stealing one from a plate B had left, under foil like communion. "Wings are covenant," Cameron said. "Lemon pepper is doctrine." They ate over the sink because money has no beef with habits. When the song slid into slow, he pulled her close. Her face found the hollow under his collarbone like a place she'd once been and forgot to map. "Tomorrow," he said into her hair, "we'll go see Dr. Alvarez. I want him to say the words to you. I don't want to be the only one carrying them." She stiffened a fraction, then softened, hands lacing behind his neck. "Okay." They swayed until the track ended, and silence admitted it had been listening all along. Morning brought rain, a southern pretense that turned to sun by noon. Devin drove them to the hospital in a black SUV that looked like it filed quarterly reports. Dr. Alvarez greeted them with the face he saved for people he wished he'd never met because of what he had to say to them. "Mrs. Blake," he said gently. "Cameron wanted you to hear the full plan." Nia nodded, jaw firm the way you make it when fear tries to befriend you. She took notes with a pen she'd stolen from the chapel, because stealing is sometimes how you mark your life. "Treatment options?" she asked. "We'll combine targeted radiation with an oral chemo regimen," Dr. Alvarez said. "The goal is to slow progression." "Side effects?" Cameron asked, eyes on the floor, the ceiling, anywhere but the doctor's face. "Fatigue, nausea, cognitive fog." "Fog?" Nia echoed. "It can feel like you're walking across a room you've known your whole life, and suddenly the furniture moved," Dr. Alvarez said. "We'll monitor. You're young, healthy. That helps." "You don't sound like a man promising a miracle," Cameron said. "I'm not promising anything I can't pay for," Dr. Alvarez said. "But I am saying we fight." They left with a folder full of words that tried to be weapons. In the parking lot, Nia leaned against the warm hood and let the sun do what it could. Cameron stood beside her, shoulder to shoulder, like 2 kids after school, who hadn't decided whether to go home yet. "I want to carry it with you," she said quietly. "The fear, the facts, all of it." He looked at her, something raw and grateful brightening the spaces grief had tried to rent. "Okay," he said. "And if we're going to try for a baby, we try because we want life, not because we're running from death." "We try because we want life," he repeated, testing the words like a lyric he could get behind. They kissed in a hospital parking lot like teenagers, and like people who know kisses aren't always about heat. Sometimes they're about agreement. Cameron's board did panic. Not all of them, but enough to be noisy. The loudest was Nelson Lang, a man who wore linen like a threat and believed in shareholder value like it was the only apostle that mattered. "Optics are poor," Lang said, on a video call. His background a beach house that belonged to his fourth wife. "You are making impulsive decisions during a health crisis, Cameron. We need a caretaker CEO." "I'm not impulsive," Cameron said. "I'm decisive." "Decisive is impetuous, with a better tailor." Lang sniffed. "The market reacts to stories. Control yours." Cameron muted, dragged a hand down his face. Before he could unmute, Yvonne Pierce, the CFO whose spreadsheets had ended more nonsense than HR, cleared her throat. "Nelson, optics improve when fundamentals do," Yvonne said, cool as a bank vault. "And fundamentals improve when leaders are human enough to make their teams fight for them. Cameron's teams will bleed for him. Investors know that." Lang rolled his eyes, but he shut up, because numbers can't be threatened. After the call, Cameron stood at the window and watched rain sneak back in over the tree line. Nia slid into the room with 2 mugs, set one by his hand. "You ever notice storms are quieter when you're with somebody?" she said. He took the mug. "You ever notice you say exactly what I need to hear and then pretend it's no big deal?" She shrugged, sipped, stared at him over the rim. "You married it," she said. He laughed, the kind that loosens the next 10 minutes. If this story has you hooked, tap subscribe, hit like, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps me keep these chapters coming. Now, back to it. They decided to do something frivolous before the treatment schedule began. A drive to Blue Ridge, windows down, Stevie Wonder loud enough to annoy any deer considering a cameo. They stopped at a roadside stand where the peaches were so ripe the air itself felt sticky. The woman at the stall recognized Cameron in the way Southerners recognize thunderstorms, by the change in pressure. "You look like that boy from the news," she said, bagging peaches, eyes kind, nose nosy. "You his cousin?" "I'm him," Cameron said, smiling with half his mouth. The woman turned to Nia, assessed her dress, her hair, her hand in his. "You his good decision? Or his bad one?" she asked. Nia smiled, bright and unapologetic. "Depends on the day," she said. "Then you're the right one," the woman said, and threw 2 extra peaches in the bag like a blessing. They ate them over the hood again, juice running down their wrists, laughing when Cameron tried to keep his shirt clean and failed. Nia took a picture, him, mouth open, eyes surprised at sweetness, and texted it to Aunt Tasha with a caption. "He's learning to be sticky." On the way back, Devin called. "Heads up," he said. "Lang is sniffing around Sloan. He wants an emergency vote on succession." "Let him call it," Cameron said. "We'll be ready." He hung up, caught Nia's gaze. She didn't flinch. "You sure?" she asked. "No," he said. "But I'm not scared." "Good," she said. "Because I am, and one of us has to be brave at a time." They bumped fists, a private joke already, and took the exit home. The first treatment day arrived like a meeting Cameron hadn't put on his calendar. He wore joggers and a hoodie like every other patient, which is the point. Money learns quickly in oncology that it can't skip the line. Nia packed a tote, ginger chews, a blanket, a book she wouldn't read, headphones for a playlist she'd picked at 3 a.m. when worry and love are the same temperature. In the infusion chair, Cameron stared at the IV pole as if it might introduce itself. The nurse, Cherie, braids long and neat, nails short because skill, smiled without pity. "You from here?" she asked, prepping the line. "Decatur," he said. "You." "College Park," she said. "We everywhere." Nia watched his face as the drip began, watched the moment's stoicism cracked, and something like boy peeked out. Tell me a story, he said, eyes on the ceiling. Okay, she said, squeezing his hand. Once upon a time, a man with a glass house married a woman who kept rocks in her pocket. Everybody told her not to throw them. She built a garden instead. What grew? He asked, voice slow now, a little fog already creeping. Tomatoes, she said. And a boy who ate them like candy. Boy? He asked, eyes sliding to her belly like he could will it. Boy, she said. And though she was joking, a part of her, the part that believed in fate and yield signs, felt something say, Amen. Cherie smiled like she'd heard it too. At home that night, nausea made itself an unwelcome guest. Cameron sat on the bathroom floor, head against the cool tile, the hood of his sweatshirt up like he was hiding from weather. Nia sat with him, rubbing circles between his shoulders the way Aunt Tasha had done when she coughed as a kid. At one point, he mumbled, I'm not very good at being mortal. That's okay, she said. I'm excellent at it. I'll teach you. He laughed into the sleeve of his hoodie, then groaned, then laughed again. Because bodies are ridiculous, and sometimes that's all you can offer them. When the worst passed, she helped him to bed, propped him on pillows, turned off his phone. He grabbed her wrist as she reached to leave. Stay, he said, voice small as a secret. I'm not going anywhere, she said, and lay beside him in the dark where promise is easiest to keep. Down the hall, Sloane's email pinged in Devon's inbox, subject line. Lang, move. He opened it, scanned, cursed under his breath. What? Bea asked from the doorway, dish towel on her shoulder like a flag. Lang wants a press leak. Sources say Cameron's rushed marriage is a smokescreen, Devon said. He's going to try to force a leadership vote. Bea's eyes narrowed, a Mother Church look that could uncurdle milk. Then you call every cousin with a checkbook and every cousin with a mouth, she said. You tell them if they love that boy, they show up tomorrow. Devon smiled, because sometimes strategy looks like Sunday dinner. Yes, ma'am. In their bed, Nia felt Cameron's breathing settle into something like sleep. She stared at the ceiling and imagined the furniture of their life. How it might move. How they'd keep their shins from finding edges in the dark. She whispered into the quiet, not sure if she was talking to God or to herself. Let me be brave when he needs brave. Let me be loud when he needs quiet. Let me be the kind of love that doesn't flinch. The house listened, made room again, and outside, Atlanta exhaled a little thunder into the night like a promise it intended to keep. Lang just filed for an emergency board vote. That's how Devon opened the morning. No good mornings, no coffee, just chaos. His phone was still buzzing on the granite countertop as Cameron emerged from the hallway in sweatpants and a black hoodie, pale but sharp-eyed. Nia was pouring juice into a glass when she froze mid-motion. A vote for what? To remove me, Cameron said calmly, almost like he'd been expecting it. Temporary succession. Health clause. Lang's moving fast. Bea, in her robe and house slippers, looked up from buttering toast. Then we move faster. She slid the knife down with the force of someone who had survived more than one kind of storm. Cameron met Devon's gaze. How long? 48 hours. He's spinning this as a concern for company stability. He leaked a line about emotional decisions clouding judgment. Meaning your marriage? Nia said flatly. Cameron nodded. And my condition. Well, Bea said, picking up her coffee. We'll just have to remind him that God doesn't vote with cowards. Later that afternoon, Cameron sat in his study, papers scattered like fallen soldiers. Devon stood near the window, phone in hand. Half the board is leaning Lang's way. Investors want reassurance. You could do an interview, frame this as resilience. I'm not turning my wife into a soundbite, Cameron said. Then we change the battlefield, Devon replied. Just then, Nia entered the room. What if the problem isn't the story, but the storyteller? She said. They see a man in crisis. But what if they saw a man fighting through it, with his family? Cameron looked at her. Go on. Host a company town hall, no media, just your people. Speak to them directly. Let them hear from the Cameron who built this company from his garage, not the billionaire the headlines invented. Devon blinked. That's actually brilliant. I wasn't asking for your approval, she said dryly. Cameron smiled despite himself. Set it up, he said to Devon. Tomorrow. Everyone comes in. When Nia left the room, Devon grinned. You married a strategist, Cam. No, Cameron said, watching her walk away. I married my reality check. The next morning, Westview Heights buzzed like an operations floor. Devon was coordinating security. Bea was on kitchen command, feeding everyone because she said, a speech on an empty stomach is a sin. Cameron adjusted his tie in front of the mirror. His hands trembled slightly, not from nerves, but from fatigue. The treatments were taking more from him each day. Nia walked up and steadied his collar. You ready? He met her eyes in the mirror. Do I look ready? You look like a man about to remind people why they believed in him, she said softly. Now go do that. He kissed her forehead. If I mess this up, you can have the house. She smirked. I already own the kitchen. We'll negotiate later. At the Walker Global Atrium, the crowd was larger than expected. Hundreds of employees filled the space, from senior execs to janitors in blue uniforms. Cameras flashed, phones recorded. Lang stood off to the side, lips pressed into a tight, managerial smile. Cameron took the stage. The microphone crackled once, then stilled. I'm told there's been concern about my health, he began, voice strong. About whether I can still lead this company. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I won't stand here and pretend everything's perfect. I'm in treatment. I'm human. But that's the same man who founded Walker Global with 4 employees and a prayer. That's the same man who missed birthdays and holidays to build something that gave all of you a life. And if my humanity makes the market nervous... He paused, gaze sweeping the room. Then maybe the market forgot who we are. Lang shifted uneasily. I didn't build this company with perfection. Cameron continued. I built it with people who believed in second chances, people who fall and get back up. And I won't apologize for having someone beside me who reminds me to keep getting up. He turned slightly. Nia stood at the edge of the crowd, wearing a soft beige blazer, her hands clasped tightly, eyes glistening. This company's my legacy. But she, he nodded toward her, is my life. A hush fell. Even Lang couldn't hide the tightening of his jaw. So, if you're voting today, Cameron said, his voice deepening, don't just vote for a man. Vote for what this place stands for. For the idea that we are more than our balance sheets. That we're a family. And if you can't do that... He leaned closer to the mic, tone slicing clean. You don't belong here. The crowd erupted. Applause roared through the atrium, breaking the sterile corporate air. Lang paled as even his usual allies clapped. Devon stood at the back. Phone lighting up with messages. He killed it. Vote swung. Lang's finished. That evening, back at home, Cameron sat on the couch with his tie loose, a bowl of Bea's gumbo in his lap. You looked like a president up there, Bea said, smiling. I felt like a man trying not to faint, he replied. Nia leaned against the doorframe. You didn't faint. You won. He raised an eyebrow. You were watching? Baby. The whole world was watching, she said, walking toward him. Lang's trending for the wrong reasons. Even your investors are calling you a symbol of resilience. Guess dying isn't bad PR after all, Cameron joked. She smacked his arm. Don't say that. Fine, he said, grinning. Surviving is better PR. Bea laughed. You two are something else. Cameron turned to Nia. We are, aren't we? Her expression softened. Yeah, we are. He put down his bowl and stood, reaching for her hand. Come on. Where are we going? She asked. He smiled faintly. Anywhere you want, while we still can. They ended up driving with no destination. Atlanta's skyline glowing gold behind them. The radio played an old Luther Vandross track, smooth and slow. When they stopped at a quiet overlook, Nia leaned back in her seat and looked at him. Do you ever think about what happens after? She asked. After what? He said, though he knew what she meant. She hesitated. If the treatment doesn't work. Cameron's hand found hers. I think about it every day. And I think about how I want every day until then to mean something. Not just the big moments, the speeches or the headlines, but small ones. Like this. Nia turned toward him. You're not going anywhere, Cam. You hear me? He smiled weakly. You've been saying that like you've got a deal with God. Maybe I do. Then tell him to renew my contract. They both laughed, but it was the kind of laughter that comes with a lump in your throat. A soft wind rustled through the trees. Nia reached out and rested her hand over his heart. You're still here, she whispered. That's enough. He kissed her fingers. For now. They sat in silence, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. For a moment. The sun had barely stretched over the pines when the phone started ringing. It was the kind of call you don't want at dawn. The one that makes your stomach fold before you even answer. Nia stirred first, half asleep, voice thick. It's your phone, baby. Cameron reached across the nightstand, saw the name flash on screen, Dr. Alvarez, and froze. His pulse stumbled. Go ahead, Nia whispered. He took a breath, pressed accept, and tried to make his voice sound casual. Morning, Doc. Morning, Cameron, came the doctor's voice, soft, careful, too careful. Nia sat up now, watching him. The sunlight painted the side of his face, sharp against the shadow. What's the verdict? Cameron asked, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. There was a pause, a long clinical silence. The latest MRI shows progression. The tumor has spread into the motor cortex. The growth is faster than we projected. Cameron didn't answer right away. He stared straight ahead, eyes glassy. So, the treatment didn't slow it down? I'm afraid not. What's the new timeline? 6 months, maybe less if symptoms escalate. For a second, the room went weightless. Even the hum of the AC disappeared. I see, Cameron said quietly. Thanks, Doc. I appreciate your honesty. I'll call in prescriptions for pain management and schedule another consult next week. And Cameron, don't try to handle this alone. You have support. Use it. I will, he said, and hung up. He sat there for a full minute, staring at the phone. His chest rose and fell slow, like each breath was a decision. Nia crawled closer. What did he say? Cameron didn't answer. His throat worked around the words, but none came out. Cam. He finally looked at her, and the look told her everything before he spoke. It's growing. Her hand flew to her mouth. No. They said 6 months, maybe less. Nia felt her chest tighten, but she wouldn't cry. Not yet. Then we don't waste a day, she said, voice trembling but fierce. Not one damn day. Cameron blinked. You're not scared? Oh, I'm terrified, she said, but I'm more scared of not living the time we've got. He reached for her hand, gripping it like an anchor. You really don't quit, do you? Not when I love somebody, she whispered. Later, that day, Devon showed up with a file and the kind of expression that said he already knew something was wrong. You heard from Alvarez? He asked quietly. Cameron nodded. How bad? 6 months. Devon shut his eyes for a second, steadying himself. Then we shift priorities. To what? Legacy, Devon said. You've got the board back. Your stock's up. But that's noise. What do you want to leave behind? Cameron leaned back in his chair. I already told you I want a child. Then we stop talking about it and start planning, Devon said. Egg donor, surrogate. No, Cameron interrupted. Not like that. I want us to do this. Naya and me. Devon hesitated. You're sure? The chemo, the stress. I'm sure, Cameron said firmly. Devon nodded slowly. Then I'll handle the logistics. You focus on living. As he left, Nia appeared at the doorway, arms folded, wearing one of Cameron's hoodies that swallowed her frame. So, we're really doing this? If you want to, Cameron said. She crossed the room, sat on his lap, and looked him in the eyes. Then, we're doing it. But not because of the clock. Because it's us. He smiled. That slow, fragile smile that always melted her. Us, he repeated. 2 weeks later, the house smelled like Sunday dinner and lavender candles. Bea was humming gospel under her breath, setting out plates, while Naya arranged a small bouquet of white roses on the dining table. It was one of those rare good days. Cameron had energy, no nausea, and enough appetite to actually eat. When he walked into the room, Nia grinned. Well, look who's finally dressed before noon. He tugged at his polo collar. I figured my wife deserved a husband who looks alive. Bea chuckled. And sounding like that, you'll stay alive, baby. They sat to eat. Fried catfish, collard greens, cornbread that smelled like heaven. For the first time in a while, laughter came easy. Halfway through the meal, Cameron looked around the table and felt something shift in his chest. You two are my favorite people, he said. Bea smiled. Don't get sentimental now. That's how folks jinx joy. Nia tilted her head. You okay? I'm better than okay, he said. I just realized this. This is what peace feels like. She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Then let's keep it. That night, they sat outside under the porch light. Nia rested her head on his shoulder while he drew lazy circles on her arm. The cicadas hummed in the distance. I used to think love was all fire, Cameron said softly. The big stuff, passion, chaos, heat. And now? Now I think it's this, he said. Quiet, steady. Someone who knows when to talk and when to just sit with you. Nia smiled faintly. You're getting poetic. I'm getting old, he said. Same thing. She laughed, but it faded into silence. Cam? Yeah? When you're gone? She started, then stopped herself. I mean, if you're gone. Do you want me to keep living here? He turned to face her. I want you to keep living. Period. House or not. She nodded, eyes glistening. Then I'll make you a promise. You go when you have to. But until then, we live like we've got forever. He kissed her then. Soft. Deliberate. Like a man sealing a contract with the universe. The next morning, Devon called again, voice urgent. Cam. Lang's stirring up something new. He's filing a motion to challenge your leadership under the company's fitness clause. He's claiming your health makes you unfit to lead. Cameron sighed. He just doesn't quit. What do you want to do? Fight it, Cameron said. Every damn inch. When he hung up, Nia was standing by the window, arms crossed. Then we'll fight. He frowned. We? She stepped closer. You think I married you to sit on the sidelines? Not happening. He smiled. Remind me to never argue with you. You're damn right, she said. By noon, they were both at the office. The mood was tense, whispers everywhere. Nia held Cameron's arm as they walked past the rows of employees. Lang was already there, smug in his beige linen suit. Cameron, Nia, good of you to join us. Let's skip the politeness, Cameron said. You want my chair? Take your best shot. Lang smirked. The board will decide that. This isn't personal. It's business. Oh, it's personal, Nia said, stepping forward. You're trying to bury a man who built this place from nothing. You call that business? Lang's smirk faltered. Mrs. Blake, this is an internal— No, she cut in. This is my husband's legacy. And if you're going to attack it, you're going to look him in the eyes while you do it. The room went dead quiet. Lang shifted under her stare. Cameron's voice was calm but sharp. You can vote, Nelson. But when this is over, I'll still have my name. You'll just have my pity. Hours later, the vote was in. Cameron Blake remained CEO. Lang stormed out without a word. Cameron leaned back, exhausted. Nia kissed his temple. Told you. We don't lose. He smiled faintly. You're my good luck charm. Correction, she said. I'm your whole team. That night, they lay in bed, the house quiet around them. Nia whispered, You ever wonder if all this was supposed to happen? Cameron looked at her, eyes heavy but soft. You mean the cancer? No. Us, she said. The way it started. The deal. The chaos. He exhaled. Maybe. But I don't care how it started anymore. All I care about is how it ends. She smiled sadly. Then let's make sure it ends right. He brushed her cheek. With love? With love, she whispered. He closed his eyes. Then, it's already perfect. And for the first time in weeks, he slept without pain. The following weeks rolled in quiet. Too quiet. Like the world was holding its breath before something snapped. Cameron's health had leveled for a moment. His appetite returned, and he even managed to jog around the block with Devon once. It felt like hope, that dangerous kind of hope that sneaks in when you stop looking for it. But peace, as Nia was learning, never lasts long in stories like theirs. One Monday morning, the air in Westview Heights felt different. Bea noticed it first. She was wiping down the counter when she glanced out the window and saw a black Mercedes she didn't recognize pulling up the driveway. Devon's already here, she muttered to herself. Who's this? A woman stepped out, tall, sharp, red blazer, heels clicking like a countdown. She carried a slim black folder and an expression that said, I own every room I walk into. Bea narrowed her eyes. Trouble, she whispered. By the time Nia came down the stairs, the woman was already in the living room. Cameron stood near the fireplace, his jaw tight, body language cold. Cameron, Nia said carefully. Who's this? The woman turned, offering a sleek smile. I'm Dana Loring, legal counsel for the board. Board? Nia repeated. You mean the same board that tried to remove my husband 2 weeks ago? Precisely, Dana said, calm as glass. They've requested an updated disclosure. Mr. Blake's medical condition may affect future contracts and public disclosures under federal compliance. Cameron cut her off. You don't need to remind me of my own compliance law, Dana. She smiled thinly. Then you know this is standard. Nia could see through the woman's tone, the faint mockery hiding under professional polish. You mean they're trying to dig again? Dana's gaze flicked to her. Mrs. Blake, I'd advise you not to interfere in corporate matters. And I'd advise you, Nia shot back, not to underestimate a woman who's had to fight for everything she has. Dana blinked. Cute. Cameron stepped between them. Enough. Devon will handle this. Dana slipped him a sealed envelope. You have 48 hours to respond, Cameron. Otherwise, the board reserves the right to appoint an interim CEO. Have a good day. When she left, the air felt heavier, as if she'd left a curse behind. Nia folded her arms. She walked in here like she owned the place. She thinks she does, Cameron said quietly. Lang's behind this. I can feel it. B leaned in from the doorway. That woman smells like snakeskin and trouble. Y'all better pray before she comes back. That night, Nia couldn't sleep. She tossed under the sheets, her mind looping back to that red blazer and the word interim. At 2 a.m., she slipped out of bed and went downstairs. Cameron was still awake, sitting in the darkened living room, laptop open, typing slowly. "You're supposed to be resting," she said softly. "I can rest when they stop trying to steal my company." She sat beside him, watching his fingers tremble slightly on the keyboard. "You can't win every battle, Cam." He looked at her, eyes tired. "Then why does losing feel like dying twice?" She took his hand. "Because you built it. But you're not your company, Cam. You're more than that." He shook his head. "No. I'm nothing without it." "Then who am I to you?" she asked quietly. He froze. "You're—" He swallowed hard. "You're the only part of me that feels alive." That admission broke something open in her. She climbed onto his lap, cupping his face. "Then, stop fighting for the world, and start fighting for us." He nodded faintly, resting his forehead against hers. "Okay. Us." The next morning brought rain. Nia was helping B pack lunch when Devin burst through the door, face pale. "Cam, Nia, you need to see this," he said, waving his phone. Cameron appeared from the hallway, robe half-tied. "What is it?" Devin turned the screen around. The headline read, "Cameron Blake's secret illness leaked. Billionaire CEO hiding terminal diagnosis." Beneath it was a photo of Cameron and Nia leaving the hospital, his arm around her shoulders. Nia's heart dropped. "Oh my God." Cameron snatched the phone. "Where did they get this?" "Internal source. Probably someone from Alvarez's office, or Lang's team," Devin said grimly. "It's everywhere, Cam. CNN, Bloomberg, even local blogs. They're saying you deceived shareholders." Cameron slammed the phone onto the table. "That son of a—" Nia grabbed his arm. "Don't let him get to you. They're painting me like a fraud, Nia." "And you think yelling helps?" she said sharply. "We'll fix this. But not if you fall apart." Devin nodded. "We go on offense. A statement. Truth. Empathy. Control the narrative before Lang twists it." Cameron took a deep breath. "Write it. But make sure it's from me." He looked at Nia. "And I want you beside me when I deliver it." She nodded. "Always." Hours later, the press gathered outside Walker Global's headquarters. Reporters swarmed the front steps. Cameras flashed as the double doors opened. Cameron walked out slowly, Nia's hand steady on his arm. The crowd hushed. He stepped to the podium, voice calm but firm. "Yes, I'm sick. I've been fighting brain cancer for months. I didn't hide it out of shame. I did it to protect this company and the people who depend on it. I didn't want fear to lead where faith should have stood." He paused, taking a slow breath. "I've dedicated my life to building something that outlives me. But what I've learned is that legacy isn't just buildings and bank accounts. It's people. It's love. It's showing up even when you're scared. That's what I'll keep doing, for as long as I can." Then he turned slightly toward Nia. "And this woman beside me, she's not here for money or fame or what the world thinks I am. She's here for who I actually am. And if that's weakness to some of you, then I'll take it." The silence that followed was thick, electric. Then, applause. Real applause. Even the cynical reporters clapped. Devin, watching from the side, whispered to B, "He just won back the world." B smiled proudly. God don't lose battles, he picked himself. That night, after the chaos, after the flood of headlines shifting from scandal to admiration, Nia and Cameron sat on the porch again, a storm rolling far in the distance. "You know," Nia said softly, "I thought I'd marry someone ordinary, a man with a pickup, not a press release." Cameron chuckled. Too late now. She leaned into him. You did good today. I didn't do it alone. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Nia's breath caught. Cam... He opened it. Inside was a gold locket, not a ring. Before all this, he said, I bought this for the daughter I thought I'd never have. But now, I think I want you to have it. Until she exists. Tears spilled down Nia's cheeks. Cam. That's... He pressed a finger to her lips. Just promise me one thing. If I don't make it long enough to meet her, tell her I wasn't afraid to love her. Nia broke down, clutching him tightly. You'll tell her yourself. You hear me? He nodded faintly, whispering into her hair. We'll see. And as thunder rolled over the hills, they held on to each other like the world could end that night, and neither of them would let it. Morning came quiet, but the quiet didn't last. It never did anymore. Nia was halfway through making coffee when Devon's name lit up her phone. She answered, voice still thick from sleep. Hey, what's wrong? Everything, he said grimly. You better sit down. Devon. The leak wasn't Lang. Her stomach flipped. Then who? He hesitated. You're not gonna like it. It came from someone in this house. Nia froze, the mug slipping from her fingers and shattering on the tile. What do you mean in this house? Digital Trail traced the original email back to your home Wi-Fi. Someone logged in through a secondary device. Her mind spun. B didn't even own a laptop. Cameron barely touched his phone. She was the only other person here. Unless... Her eyes darted toward the hallway leading to Cameron's office. Devon, she whispered. Could it be his backup system? I checked that. It's encrypted. Whoever did this used your login credentials, Nia. Not his. The words hit like cold water. Are you saying I leaked my husband's diagnosis? She snapped. I'm saying whoever did it pretended to be you. They hacked your email. Her breath caught. How? Probably someone who's been in the house recently. You had a housekeeper's aide last week, right? A new one? Yes, Sonia. She came from a temp agency. Then start there. Nia hung up and stormed down the hall to B's room. Where's that new helper? B looked up from folding sheets. She ain't show up today. Why? Because she sold my husband's medical records to the press. B dropped the sheet. Lord, have mercy. I'm calling Devon. We're pressing charges. But when they called the temp agency, the response made Nia's blood run cold. There's no employee by that name, the woman on the line said. We never sent anyone to your address, B gasped. Then who the hell was she? Someone with a plan, Nia said. That evening, Cameron was in his office reviewing legal letters when Nia walked in, face hard. Cam, we've been infiltrated. He looked up. By who? Someone posing as house staff. She's the one who leaked your medical file. Devon traced it. Cameron frowned. Why would anyone go through that much trouble? I don't know, but she used my credentials. She wanted it to look like it came from me. He stood, voice sharp. You think Lang sent her? I think someone did, she said. But this feels personal, not business. He paused, reading her face. You think it's someone who wants to hurt us? Yes. He sighed and rubbed his temples. Devon's right. I should have increased security weeks ago. Don't turn this into self-blame, Cam. We'll handle it. He nodded slowly. We will. Together. Then, almost under his breath, I just wish we knew why. The following day, Cameron's assistant forwarded him a link. An anonymous email sent to the media with the leaked file. It had one line in the subject header. Now everyone will see who you really are. There was no signature. but the bitterness in the words was familiar. He stared at the screen, then whispered, "Marisa." Nia looked up. "Who?" "My ex-fiancée," Cameron said quietly. "She worked for Lang before I bought her out of his PR team. She didn't take the breakup well." Nia's brows furrowed. "You think she sent someone into our house?" "She has connections. And she knows my weakness." "What weakness?" He hesitated. "Guilt." That night, Nia sat in the dim light of their bedroom, replaying the past few days. Everything felt heavier. Cameron's illness, the board, now this. It was like the universe was testing how much love could carry before it broke. Cameron walked in quietly, leaning against the doorframe. "You haven't said a word in an hour." "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About how people always target the things they envy," she said softly. "They can't stand seeing happiness they can't control." He crossed the room and sat beside her. "You sound like B." "She's rubbing off on me," Nia said, half smiling. "You okay?" "I've been worse." "That's not comforting." He chuckled weakly. "You want honesty or comfort?" "Both," she said. He looked at her, eyes tired but tender. "Honestly, I'm scared. But being scared with you is better than pretending to be brave alone." Nia leaned in and kissed him softly. "Then we'll be scared together." A few days later, the storm broke again. But this time, it wasn't the media. It was the doctor. Cameron's phone rang mid-meeting. He answered, half distracted. "Dr. Alvarez, can this wait?" "Not really," the doctor said. "We received the results from your latest scan. There's something new." Cameron's chest tightened. "Worse?" "No. Better." He blinked. "Better?" "Yes, the tumor's shrinking. I can't explain it fully yet, but the readings are clear. The treatment's working." For a moment, Cameron couldn't breathe. He sat down slowly. "You're telling me I might live?" "There's a strong chance. We'll need to confirm with another scan, but yes, it's possible." That evening, Nia was on the porch when he came outside, barefoot, grinning like a man reborn. "What's that face?" she asked. He took her hands. "The tumor's shrinking." She froze. "Wait, you're serious?" He nodded, tears in his eyes. "It's working, Nia. I might live." She laughed, a raw, beautiful sound that cracked into a sob halfway through. "Cam. Oh my God." He pulled her close, holding her like the world had just started over. "We did it," he whispered. But she shook her head. "No, you did." He kissed her forehead. "No, baby. We did." That night, as the rain began to fall softly outside, Nia found herself awake again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was gratitude. She turned to Cameron, sleeping beside her, the faintest smile on his lips, even in his dreams. She whispered, "If this is what miracles look like, I'll never doubt again." Her phone buzzed suddenly, a message from an unknown number. "You think it's over? It's not." Nia stared at the screen, heart pounding. She looked over at Cameron, peaceful, alive, and decided she wouldn't wake him. Not yet. Instead, she deleted the message. For now, she chose hope. It was one of those mornings that looked peaceful on the outside but carried tension in the air, like a calm ocean hiding a riptide. The sunlight crept through the blinds, painting stripes across Cameron's face. He stirred, smiled faintly, and reached for Nia, only to realize she wasn't beside him. Downstairs, he found her pacing the kitchen, phone in hand, face tight. B sat at the counter, pretending to stir oatmeal but clearly eavesdropping. "What's wrong?" Cameron asked, voice low. Nia froze. She had planned to keep it from him at least a few more days. But one thing she had learned about love: it demanded honesty, even when it hurt. She looked at him, eyes full of conflict. "Cam, there's something I didn't tell you." He frowned, Talk to me. She handed him the phone. I got a message last night from an unknown number. It said, "You think it's over? It's not." Cameron's jaw clenched. Show me. She opened the chat, but the number was gone. Deleted, somehow, like it had vanished into air. Whoever sent it knows how to cover their tracks, she said quietly. Devon arrived minutes later, laptop in hand, already typing. Let me guess. Anonymous message? No metadata? No trace? Exactly, Naya replied. Then it's not just harassment. This is calculated. Cameron exhaled slowly. Lang. Could be, Devon said. But something about this doesn't fit his pattern. He's loud, messy, ego-driven. This feels personal. Bea crossed her arms. That woman, the red suit lawyer. She had eyes like she was already planning somebody's funeral. Nia nodded. Dana. Cameron sank into a chair. If she's tied to this, she's not just after the company. She's after me. Devon looked up from his screen. You two need to be careful. No interviews, no unsupervised meetings. From now on, assume every call is being recorded. Cameron chuckled bitterly. So, what? You want me to live like I'm already dead? Naya reached over, placing her hand over his. No. Like you're being reborn. That afternoon, the three of them went through Cameron's office files. Years of contracts, deals, and confidential emails, all potentially compromised. Nia sifted through old correspondence when something caught her eye. A folder labeled Personal, Marisa Loring. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside were letters, unsent drafts, all addressed to his ex-fiancée. One line stood out. I'm sorry, I couldn't love you the way you wanted. You deserved truth, not pity. Naya closed the folder, heart heavy, but understanding. She turned to him. You never sent these? Cameron shook his head. Didn't seem fair to reopen wounds I'd already caused. She might have taken that silence as rejection. He looked at her, guilt creeping in. You think this is revenge? I think love and bitterness share the same room, Nia said softly. Just different sides of the bed. Devon suddenly sat up. Guys, look at this. On his laptop screen was an encrypted document, hidden in one of your old board memos. It's a financial file, routing number, offshore account, listed under Marisa Loring's name. Cameron frowned. Where did that come from? Whoever leaked your medical info got paid through this account, Devon said. And that payment came from Lang's firm. But the authorization signature is Dana's. Nia's pulse quickened. So they were working together? Worse, Devon said grimly. They were lovers. And you just beat both of them in public. That evening, Cameron called a press conference, his second in less than a month. The lights were bright, the cameras merciless. Nia stood behind him, head high. He took the podium and began, when people can't destroy you with truth, they reach for lies. Today, I'm here to end the lies. He motioned to Devon, who played a recorded audio clip. Dana's voice, cold and unmistakable. If he thinks this pity campaign will save his empire, he's delusional. Once the public finds out what we leaked, he'll crawl back under the rock he came from. Gasps echoed through the room. Cameron continued calmly. That's the woman who represented my company's legal interest. And that's what betrayal sounds like when dressed in professionalism. He paused, looked toward the sea of cameras, and said, I forgive her. Nia blinked. You what? She whispered under her breath. I forgive her, Cameron repeated, louder this time. Not for her sake, but for mine. Because I've learned that resentment is just another kind of sickness. And I've already fought one. The crowd fell silent. When the conference ended, reporters swarmed, but Cameron simply took Nia's hand and walked past them, through the glass doors and into the light rain outside. Later that night, the house felt calm again. Bea was humming an old hymn in the kitchen. Devon had finally gone home, and the world, for once, had stopped spinning too fast. Cameron and Nia sat together on the couch. "You really forgave her?" Nia asked softly. He nodded. "If I carry that anger, it'll kill me faster than any tumor." She smiled faintly. "You sound like Bea now." "Good. Maybe that means I'm finally learning something." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded letter, and handed it to her. "What's this?" "My will," he said simply, "but not the one the lawyers wrote." Nia opened it, eyes scanning the page. It wasn't a legal document. It was a note, handwritten. "If I go, remember, love isn't about who stays the longest. It's about who stands beside you when everyone else runs." She looked up, tears streaming. "Cam," he wiped her cheek with his thumb. "Don't cry. Not when we finally get to live again." Then, with a shaky breath, he said, "I've been thinking, maybe it's time to stop calling this the end." "What do you mean?" "I mean, let's start planning the future. Baby names, vacations, messy mornings. Things dying men don't talk about." Nia laughed through her tears. "You're not dying, Cameron." He smiled softly. "Then maybe I've already come back to life." Weeks later, the medical reports confirmed what the doctor first suspected. The tumor had gone dormant. The treatment had worked. Cameron was, against every odd, in remission. When he told Nia, she cried so hard she couldn't speak. Bea nearly fainted from joy. "Look at God!" she shouted, clapping her hands. "I told y'all he don't miss." Cameron just held Nia close. "We got another shot, baby," she whispered. "Then let's use it right." A year later, Cameron and Nia stood outside a community center they had built together, the Blake Foundation for Families, offering free treatment and counseling for low-income cancer patients. Cameron smiled as children ran through the courtyard, laughter echoing through the walls. "Feels like we built more than just a building," he said. "We built hope," Nia replied. He turned to her. "And love?" She grinned. "That part built itself." He laughed softly, then kissed her forehead. "Still think miracles don't happen?" She looked up at him, eyes bright. "I never said that. I said miracles don't come easy. But the best ones never do." They stood there for a long time, hand in hand, watching the sunset spill gold over the city skyline. And in that light, Cameron Blake, the dying billionaire who bought love to cheat death, finally learned that real love was the only cure he'd ever needed.